Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
I've been going out with a girl, her name is Julie, but last night she said to me when we were watching telly.
And it's Maria in Tunbridge. Hi.
Oh, hi there. Well, actually, I disagree with your caller just now, and I actually agree more so with your previous caller by the name of Kay. I'm one of the people that actually are beginning to lose sympathy with the Grenfell Tower people. Yes, what happened was horrific, and our hearts went out to those people, and yes, they should be rehoused, but they should be rehoused like for like. I'm a house owner, and I have building insurance. If something happened to my property, my insurer wouldn't put me up in an £850,000 house if my house is only worth, let's say, 400.
But they're not asking for that, Maria, as far as I know. It's about the... No, hang on. It's about the appropriateness of the property. It's not about saying, oh, quid's in, let's get a huge place.
Well, I think in Kensington or in that borough, you can't get a huge place anyway for 850,000. No doubt you can get probably a 2-bedroom flat, I should imagine. However, why has it gone from 138 families that needed to be rehoused? Why has now it's gone up to over 200? I believe it was 220 or 215, something like that. Because many of them are saying, oh, we can't, my daughter or my son, they need their own place. Well, so does mine. Who's going to pay for my son and daughter to live in a nice little flat?
But are you surmising that, Maria, or do you know that that's the case?
Well, listen, I'm not on the committee. I'm not there. I read the papers. I listen to the radio station like yourself.
Yeah, but it's important. I mean, you have but Maria, you're all right.
Night.
Yeah, you're quite within your rights. You're quite within your rights, of course, to have a view on the people who survived Grenfell and what happens to them and with them into the future. You absolutely have that view. But unless you know for sure that people are saying, oh, great, let's all get a flat each, then really don't say it, because it's not fair.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but many of the circles that I mix with all have the same view. Are we all wrong? I mean, it was watching, for example,
possibly, yeah,
News Night last night. I don't know. I'm not on the committee. I'm only going by what I read and what I hear on the telly and on the news, in the newspapers and on the radio.
I understand, but I'm just saying that it's only 6 months on. It behoves us to tread carefully, with these people.
The other thing is as well, I feel that their expectations are come across somewhat unreasonable, and this word that someone has to be held accountable. It was a tragic accident. Nobody set fire to that building. No politician, whether it was a councillor from Kensington or anyone from the Conservative Party, because Theresa May's coming under terrible attack. Nobody said, let's go and do this.
But Maria, everybody in the know, and even those who aren't in the know, strongly believed that fire should not have spread the way that it did. So it isn't just about it being a tragic accident. It's about the scale of that accident being entirely avoidable and establishing why it wasn't avoided. That's absolutely vital. It isn't a simple accident any longer. Maria, thank you for your call. Maria in Tunbridge. Louise in Millbank. Hello.
Oh, hi, Sheila. Nice to talk to you.
You too.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I have a council house in Millbank, and it's just behind the Tate Gallery. It's a really lovely area and really fantastic flat, really run well, and the whole area is clean and lovely. And when I came to, there was like 5 people came to see the flat, and I was the only one that wanted to live there. And the rest I talked to afterwards, and they didn't. They wanted to live in Notting Hill. No, I don't want this flat. And I was completely astonished. I was thinking, what? And because I was so grateful, and I took the first choice. But these people don't. What I've learned since, and I've talked to a lot of people, they don't want to live here. They want a flat with a garden. They want this. They want, and I'm quite astonished. And I was thinking, oh, why did I take the first choice? But this area.
Well, maybe they had different circumstances to you, perhaps.
It's 10 minutes walk from the Queen's house. You couldn't. If it's good enough for the Queen, it's not good enough for them. And I was the only British person in that group, and none of them wanted to stay there. And from my experience talking to a lot of these people since is that they're like pampered children. I don't want this and I do want that. Instead of just thinking, wow, somebody's giving me a flat for nothing.
But do you accept, Louise, that when it comes to the Grenfell families, we don't know the reasons why sometimes they're rejecting the offers of temporary accommodation, let alone permanent accommodation?
Yeah, I was in temporary. I was in a hotel for 2 years. I was in temporary accommodation for a year and a half. Which is a flat that you're not. You're temporary there, so you can't really do anything about it. I accepted all that because I'm thinking, well, what happened in my circumstances? But I didn't say I don't want to live in this. I don't want that. I just said, okay, I'll have a focus of where I'm going, and be grateful for what you can get. The government, we don't have endless amounts of flats or money.
So do you think that when Grenfell...
I'll accept this, it's good enough.
Do you think they should be prepared to live significantly outside the borough?
Yes.
How far?
They're coming from outside the country.
Not all of them.
They're coming from another country.
Not all of them.
Yeah, I don't know personally all of them, but I'm coming from another country. I'm no different. I come from Scotland. I'm coming from another country too, And you've got to just say, you start being grateful and stop being so like a child.
Do you think that? Yeah. Do you think? Yeah, do you think they're a special? Hang on. Do you think they're a special case?
No. I don't think there's a special case. And life moves on. It was horrendous, it was horrible, but every single day things are happening to people. Things happen to me, that's why I was in this situation through no fault of my own. Things happen to me, but I don't think that one's worse than me. Things happen to everybody. I'm sure things will happen to you, Sheila. We have to move on, and I think in a way that stopping them there, they have to go on with their life. We're all grieving. I'm grieving. I'm going through a thing at the moment, but I don't expect special situation.
Okay, Louise, thank you. I disagree with you. I think they are a special case, and that the more understanding we can have of what it means to have gone through what they went through, the better. It doesn't mean that people are beyond reproach. It just means, in my view, that the survivors of Grenfell are a special case. But thank you, Louise, for your call. Louise in Millbank. Well, Andy has called from Seaford. Andy, hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Shelagh. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, yeah.
Please don't get angry with me.
I'm not going to get angry with anyone, and the strong reason being that service that happened this morning. Now, this is a day when the survivors and the families and the people supporting them, are being brave, are trying to find peace, are mourning. So this isn't a place to have a scrap. I'm genuinely interested because I think if people do lose interest in Grenfell, and I don't mean everybody in the country has to have it on their minds all day, every day. I just mean that if we decide it doesn't matter, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Fire away.
Right. I mean, to me, one thing it did show, and I've got a lot of sympathy for the people. It's absolutely disgusting what happened to them people. One thing it does show, there's thousands of people on Kensington and Chelsea's housing waiting list. People whose family have lived there for generations, who grew, lived there through the Blitz, who rent privately, pay 2/3 of their wages out in rent. So therefore, as far as the council are concerned, they're adequately housed. And someone that's been in the country a couple of years is council property. Is given a council flat. I mean, if you have a council property, you're much better off because you're in a position where you're paying a much cheaper rent and your wages go that much further. So they're forcing the true Londoners out of London now. We're all living all over. Right, it started in the 60s, moving Londoners out. Right, the real Londoners, the ones whose family have lived there for generations, all the social history. And it just makes me so angry that these people don't get a say. They're not getting a voice. Everything's concentrated as it should.
But when you say they don't have when you say they don't have a voice, which people do you mean? Do you mean people who are without permanent housing?
Yeah, people on Kensington Borough's waiting list that have probably been on there for 10, 20 years even, waiting for a council place, yet we're bending over backwards because to help someone that's come as a refugee or an asylum seeker, people that are renting there illegally are now getting council places. It just pushes these people further and further back.
You're talking about you're regarding everybody in that block as an immigrant, are you?
No, not everybody. I know there's people there that his family have grown up in that area, and but there wasn't. They are not the sole occupants. There was many refugee families there as well. That, haven't been in the country this long, or they come on family reunification, this, that, and the other.
And don't you think, Andy? I take on board what you're saying, but don't you think? I put this to, I don't know whether you remember the caller, Donna, who was so objected to the idea that 26 of these families might end up living in the same block as her. She regarded them as another form of life. And I put to her that actually, because they went through this horror, this avoidable horror, the detail of which and the causes of which we will get to the bottom of with the inquiry and criminal investigations, don't you think they deserve our special attention, no matter who else around has issues? I'm not suggesting they don't, but don't you think your human response when something monumentally awful has happened to an individual or a group is to make them a special case?
And what about the soldiers who got sleeping on the street that have come back from Iran and Iraq? What about people like me that served in Northern Ireland? That are now suffering 30 years later. I think there's nothing, but we will bend over backwards because it's just been publicised and it's in the news. Yes, people do need help. Everybody needs help, but I'm sorry, if you was renting a place there illegally, subletting, then you should not, under any circumstances, be given a council place, because that's taking it away from somebody that has been on that list for 15, 20 years.
And if you just lived there, legit, what then?
If you lived there legit...
And you were from Syria and you'd only been here for 2 years, higher or lower down the scale?
Well, then, please tell me then, if you only lived here for 2 years, how you've got a council place when people...
I don't know. I don't know what their selection criteria is.
Well, I'll tell you what the selection criteria is, because it changed a few years ago. It became people with the most need. So if you arrive in this country, as a refugee or whatever, obviously you've got children, you haven't got a house, well, you become top of the list for social housing. Rather than finding a private rented accommodation for them, you're given a lifetime tenancy in a council house. All
right, Andy's making himself very clear that he thinks that the legitimate needs of other individuals and other groups are just as high on the agenda, should be just as high on the agenda as those of the Grenfell families. I don't agree with him. I don't think it's about ignoring other people so that you can help the Grenfell family. Of course, returning veterans, of course, people who are on housing lists have got pressures. I'm not suggesting they haven't. But it's that, for me, it's that argument of sometimes people are a special case, and I believe these people are a special case. I haven't really focused much on what the headlines in the papers and the Daily Mail said today. I think it was the Telegraph a few weeks ago, wasn't it? But it was the Daily Mail's turn this morning. Pictures of all of the Tories who voted against the government and asking, I hope you're proud of yourselves, or are you proud of yourselves? You just think, oh, come on. They're MPs doing their job. Plain and simple. Neil has called from Market Drayton. Hi.
Hello. First time caller.
Well, you're welcome to the programme.
Thank you. Yeah, I won't hide my feelings. I'm absolutely steaming angry with our politicians. Basically, what they've done, there was no need to have the vote. As I said to your researcher, I've actually wrote it to Dominic Grieve, emailed him, and he said that obviously he's concerned, being a QC, he was concerned about the legality framework being set up following the Article 50. What these politicians, or political servants as I like to call them, and they are our servants, basically what they've done is voted against the people and not been sovereign. We voted the Leave vote, which I'm very proud to be one of, the 17.4 million after 10 years of campaigning with UKIP. Basically, the fact is they voted against the will of the people. Now, we asked the government of the day to actually implement the Article 50, which obviously they've done. I do think Theresa May is a wrong person. She's very disingenuous in her actions. I mean, the only way she's going to prove to me that she is genuine in getting us out of the European Union is actually employing Douglas Rees-Mogg, putting him into a cabinet position.
Jacob Rees-Mogg, you mean?
Yes, sorry, Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. Getting mixed up with Douglas Rees. So basically, that's my opinion on it. I do not trust our politicians one bit. And it is quite obvious that the establishment, this is their way of fighting back. And what gets me is when I'm constantly hearing on the news and programmes such as yours, not that it's not a good thing, obviously, but people, if they really had done their own homework and were genuine in being able to vote, knowing what they were voting for, I'm not on about the £250 million for the NHS. I mean, looking back of how the actual EU was brought in by stealth, because it's only in the few recent couple of years, 2 or 3 years, that I even remember when Barroso first came on TV. He was being interviewed, and I thought, oh yeah, they're feeling confident here. And since then, from that moment on, we knew that it was the establishment and the country, along with the EU, thinking it was quite safe for them to.
What do you mean by the establishment, though? Because Jacob Rees-Mogg is pretty establishment, isn't he?
Well, I think establishment is a terminology for the people, for Remainers, isn't it? And people who are sort of.
Well, hang on. So the establishment is made up of millions and millions of ordinary voters, is it? Because millions. Well, you said it's Remainers. Millions of people voted to remain.
Yeah, the establishment, as far as I'm concerned, the people who are looking after the Project EU. SSR, as far as I'm concerned, it is just another super state, it has actually come out now, which we knew about 10 years ago by Schultz saying that he wants
a federal Europe.
A federal Europe. The HS2, that was an EU plan years and years ago. These things that are happening.
Oh, well, God forbid we should connect our cities, Neil. God forbid we should do that. But listen, I've got some issues with the HS2 plan myself, but only because it doesn't go east to west at all. But anyway, but can I bring you back to the question? You've made it very clear why you voted leave. Can I bring it back to the question of this vote last night and whether you believe those Tory MPs who voted to support Dominic Grieve's amendment because they want Parliament in the mix, absolutely, when our laws are repatriated? What is wrong with that? What is that? That, to me, Neil, is the ultimate democratic taking back control.
No, well, the democratic action took was through the referendum.
There's all kinds of. We live in our democracy. It doesn't mean there's only one version of democracy.
Let me just have my say on this and then jump into me, please. Basically, when the referendum was put to the people, we had all the politicians behind Cameron saying, OK, on both sides, voting either for leave or remain. OK, they've got their views, that's it. But the fact of the matter is that referendum was not advisory, it was the referendum.
Yeah. But Neil, I get it, but you keep going back to, I know it's your first call to the programme, but you keep going back to those long-standing and established leave arguments, and that's fine. We get them. You won. It's going to happen. As things stand, it's going to happen. What I want to know is why, if you have a problem with what these MPs did yesterday to defeat the government, what particularly is your problem with it? Because as far as I can see, yes, it might make things slower. Yes, it might make things more complicated for Theresa May. But that's because it's more democratic, and more democracy always complicates things.
No, it's not democratic at all.
Why isn't it democratic?
Basically, because
why isn't it democratic to empower your MP?
Well, my MP, Owen Patterson, who's although I'm a UKIP supporter, Nigel Farage, for me, is the only person next to Jacob Rees-Mogg who are genuine, or appear to be genuine people, basically, and who have been sort of obviously cast in bad lights. But basically, what they did last night, they took away the democracy part of it, because when I voted for leave, I voted to leave.
No, I know, but you're dodging my question, Neil. You are dodging my question.
No, I'm not. The government of the day, I gave instructions through the ballot paper for the government to take hold of the referendum and issue Article 50. Now,
That's been done.
The Labour MPs and the SNPs are doing it. It's nothing to do with having a democratic right. They, keep telling us they respect the democratic right, so therefore they should not have any arguments about what the government, even though I'm not a believer in Theresa May, I do believe that the government is the government who should be working for us.
Yes, but Neil, even forget Brexit for a second. Governments are never all powerful. That's why Parliament exists.
Well, if they're not all powerful, then at the end of the day...
Well, no, because do you know what is all powerful? Do you know what is? Parliament. You, me, the people we put in Parliament. That's democracy. And when we say to Theresa May, as Parliament did last night, we want Parliament, the representatives of the people of this country, to be in the mix when laws change. There is no bigger definition of democracy in my view.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head, Sheila.
Thanks.
That we have asked them to represent us. That's fine. The government to represent. The government, at the end of the day, the opposition, whoever they are only there to argue against and bring the government to account. That's fine. But we're not talking about that in this instance. What we're talking about is the people. No, we're talking about...
So you do believe it's about remaining in the EU?
Sorry?
You do believe that the MPs who rebelled last night are trying to remain in the EU? That's all this is about?
Absolutely. Yes, that's all it's about. It's simple as that. It's so in your face.
Well, Neil, why are you afraid of one type of democracy when you embrace another? You embrace the referendum, you won, good on you, and yet you refuse to see that so-called taking back control that you and your fellow Leavers talk about so much has to boil down to 600 or so men and women in the chamber of the House of Commons. That is the ultimate democracy in this country. So why are you afraid of them having it?
Why? Because I don't want socialism in this country. I fought against socialism. I do not like socialism.
Antoinette Sandbach is a Conservative MP for Edinburgh. She's as far removed from socialism as could be.
Okay then. Well, if that's the case, and I understand where you're coming from, but if that's the case, then why are they why do they want us to remain in one of the biggest socialistic plans that's been about?
Well, she isn't saying that. She may personally wish she may personally wish the vote had gone a different way. What she is saying is Parliament must be king. Why are you afraid of Parliament being king?
I'm not afraid of Parliament being king. What I'm afraid of is that my voice, along with the 17.4 million in this country, is being ignored through simply the fact that there's an awful lot of Remainers, and I bring the word up, establishes
in Parliament,
who do not want us to be taken out of the European Union. It's maybe I'm not being eloquent enough.
No, you are. I'm just curious as to why you find Parliament so objectionable when it is you. Parliament is you, Neil.
If that's the case, I have a lot more power. I'm just a number in the country. I accept that. I've accepted it years and years ago. I'm just a smidgen of the amount of people in here. And this is a great country of ours, and I wanted to keep it really great, and I wanted to build. I mean, the things that are happening, the stories like the Grenfell Tower. I mean, I know I'm going slightly off track. These things and the situation that's arose from it all. It all boils down to money, and we are, we keep going on about we're the richest country. We've got food banks, we've got charities not being given.
We've got problems. We've got problems.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of worldwide problems, and we're connected with that. But our politicians, in regards to the fact of our politicians and trusting them, I do believe there are some right honourable, and I use that title, because I don't believe that a lot of them are sort of should be awarded that title, because whether they've morally or unillegally taken money from the country and from the coffers and that for their previous expenses. I mean, I can never forget them for what they've done.
All right, but you are going off at so many different tangents. We're losing the central point. But I couldn't get you there. I couldn't get you to value Parliament's supremacy, the very thing that you voted for in the referendum on Europe. You don't now seem to have an understanding of its value. That's what I take from my conversation with you, Neil. Thank you very much for your call, though, Neil in Market Drayton. Dave in Hornchurch, what do you think it is?
Good afternoon. Well, this is going to go on and on and on, because when you see Chuka Umunna and Vince Cable and Anna Salisbury all grinning like Cheshire cats, why did this referendum come about? The referendum came about because Parliament was arguing but we all know that the vast majority of MPs are Remainers, correct?
I don't know.
Oh, we are. Come on. We all know that the vast majority they're all Remainers. I've been in politics all my life. I'm still in it now. And at the end of the day, the vast majority... Now, a few weeks ago, we had Bill Cash down to do a talk to us in sunny Hornchurch, yeah? Mm-hmm. Bill Cash said, right, what we've done... We've got all the MPs in every constituency who voted to leave, but their MPs are Remainers, basically. So, obviously, that it's going to go on and on, this, Sheila, because at the end of the day, what I couldn't believe the other day, so between now and March 2019, every single person who comes in from Europe will be allowed to stay here and bring their family. What do you think that's going to mean?
Well, you tell me.
Well, it's going to mean you're going to get an influx. You're going to get it's eased off a little bit this last year. We only had 5,000 a week. I'll just say that again, 5,000 a week. All right, half of them were EU, half of them weren't. But at the end of the day, all you get, the lady who was just on just now, I mean, is so obvious a Remainer, but... On the night of
you mean Antoinette Sandbach, my guest, not the Prime Minister.
Also the lady. Well, Antoinette was quite very interesting. Talk about muddy the waters. I'd love you to listen to what she said over again when you get a chance.
Tell me how she muddied the waters. I don't think she did.
Well, she said it wasn't really 52-48. It was more like 51-49 in a lot of it. What is she talking about? It was 52-48. End of story.
No, she was talking about her constituency.
Yeah, but at the end of the day...
She was asked about her constituency, so she spoke about her constituency. Right. That was all. That wasn't muddying waters. Right. She was answering a question.
Right. Chuka, my friend Chuka, I've spoke to him a few times. Mm-hmm. He said on the night of the referendum, they said to him, look, it looks like it's going to be quite close. How do you feel if the Remain win and the Leavers? He said, a win is a win. All of a sudden, it's not a win is a win, is it? It's not a win is a win because they don't want it. They are not going to have it.
You see, increasingly, though, Dave, I'm getting from not just the MPs and ministers that I speak to, just from people that I speak to, I'm getting a sense that people who wanted to remain are slowly accepting that we're going to leave, and I don't... I mean, maybe you tell me, but I can't see what is wrong with wanting to have a discussion about the manner in which we leave. What's so threatening about that?
No, I don't. I agree with what you just said there. What is threatening here is this. At the end of the day, the reason we had a referendum is there was a tremendous... I've followed it closely for years. In Parliament, there was this tremendous... So David Cameron decided to stick his neck out, which obviously he lost his head, but he decided to stick his neck out and have the referendum, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Right. He had the referendum.
Chancellor.
Mr Cameron said... I'm only reminding... We all know. Mr Cameron said, if we vote to leave, the next day we'll invoke Article 50. Did he?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He resigned instead.
He resigned instead.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, that's a coward's way out. He resigned. Instead of doing... Mr Osborne said, on the day we vote to leave, after that, we will have an emergency budget because we'll be in such a terrible state in this country. Did we? Did we have an emergency budget?
No, Dave, we didn't. This is like Panto. He's behind you.
Oh, well, that's right. Because all I'm saying, on the 2nd of December, Sheila, You and I could have gone. You might, if you paid for it, I would have gone.
Where are we going, Dave? Where are we going?
No, listen.
I am.
They had a dinner in London on the 2nd of December.
Yeah.
£200 a head, run by Chuka and Vince Cable and a few others, all the main arch remainers, to raise money to stop this, to stop it. And they've got millions and millions of pounds in the bank. There's so many. Mr. Branston, all of them are in there. They've got millions and millions, Sheila. And if they can do it, they will stop it. I didn't vote for this to have the ECJ, the European Court of Justice, still going to be in control in 8 years' time.
Do you just a final one, Dave, because I need to go to the break. But on that vote last night, do you accept that what they achieved by that defeat of the government, very narrow victory, but what they achieved was to give more sovereignty to Parliament?
No.
Why?
In a word, no. Because, as I said to you at the start of this conversation, the reason we had a referendum was they knew that the way to stop it once and for all was to say to the British people, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll have a referendum on leave or remain, correct?
Of course, but you know, Dave, you're being disingenuous to suggest, I think you're suggesting, that there's only one way to go, and there are various ways to go.
I think all I would say is that the reason they had a referendum was they was pretty confident they would win.
You see, I tell you what I think. I think that you and some of the others I've spoken to, Neil, can't remember everybody else's name, but I think the people shouting loudest for sovereignty are a little bit afraid of sovereignty when it might go against them.
Well, as I said earlier, I'll be very quick on this. As I said earlier, we had Sir Bill Cashed in to give us a talk a little while ago, obviously an arch leaver of many years. He said to us, what we've done, we've drawn up a list, and I hope MPs listen to this. I know a lot of their advisors do, listen to your programme and others. Bill Cash said we've drawn up a list of every constituency who voted where the
MPs are Remainer, but the constituency voted Leave.
Yeah, they voted Leave, but the
MP is a Remainer.
Remain. So we'll have to,
what's he going to do with the list? Don't like lists. They're a bit worrying, aren't they? Lists and names and it's all a bit sort of resonant of ugly moments in history. Dave, thank you. I'm going to leave it there. Good to talk to you. Interesting to talk to you, Dave in Hornchurch.